Oh, hi guys. I just wanted to say hi a minute and announce that I'm very busy working on job interviews or getting more job interviews, auditions, my voiceover auditions and my acting auditions, as well as job interviews for getting back into substitute teaching and maybe an insurance office and selling Angela Shelton's Hot Mom products and I'm going to be a brand ambassador maybe for Avon too or whatever, but in writing and everything, but in trying to make, or not trying, but in the process of working towards making more money again. So the announcement is that I am no longer responding to any of the Brad Pitt imposters. I have had it with you guys, and please stop. It's tormenting to me because it just feeds into my Cinderella complex, okay? That some man's gonna come rescue me, some rich man that, anyway, usually whatever, you know. So, but I'm available for auditions from any celebrity, but normally my agent gets me auditions or I get my own auditions. I have one in San Antonio and I have a couple of them out in LA still. I believe I've got to check in on that. I had one in Atlanta for a while, but I've never lived out there. So, everything's competitive, but you can get your own auditions. And I even had like a Johnny Depp one on, I think it was Threads or whatever, saying to audition. And I've done that through the social media, but those people are not, they're mostly Nigerian romance scammers. And if it says Nigeria on there, that's probably, you have to go back and look back at the profile, but that's usually how they are. And those are not as dangerous. Well, some of them might be, but as some of the, there, I think there's some more highly sophisticated catfishers and romance scammers and job scammers on there. They target even filmmakers and directors and all that because I saw a couple documentaries on it before. But no, just be careful, guys. Be very, very careful. And I may be still starting that support group for people that have fallen prey to these celeb imposters. Now, I personally have never had the money for them, so I never, thank goodness, lost money to them. That's crazy. I mean, you can tell right away after a while that it's not them, okay? But it's the, you get addicted to the idea that, especially if you're an older single divorced lady like myself, and I have seen the real Pitt before, once at a school when he was picking up homework when I was a substitute teacher several years ago. I was an extra in Moneyball, and but those I didn't feel the attraction then. But when I saw him speak with Tarantino and DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I just thought, oh, he's really a nice looking older man. He's felt attraction and I felt all butterfly-y and all that, butterflies, whatever. But there were a lot of other women feeling the same way. And they were very much more out about it. Like, I was just so embarrassed because I felt like such an idiot. So, in fact, when it was over, the screening, I couldn't even find my car. I raced out. I was not about to get into like a teeny bopper lineup to meet them. Or even, I could see how somebody could easily fall for DiCaprio too. Or even Tarantino because he's very interesting looking. They're all very interesting. And of course, they're all doing it at a much grander scale, like 10,000% of what I'm doing as a, very ultra low budget SAG-AFTRA actress who for a long time just did the non-union that even though it took me 10 years to get into the union may have still, joined the union too soon, whatever, there's, I've looked into all kinds of other things. Some people go FICOR so they can audition for both. Okay, and I'm not doing that next year either. I'm not going to change the subject and start rambling. Okay, so the bottom line is it's flattering, but you have to let it go. And you have to not respond to them. I blocked and reported many of them over the last 5 years. I've heard from hundreds of them. I've received like about 100 marriage proposals from all of them. and I blocked and reported all the ones that I could. And a lot of them have disappearing profiles, and all of a sudden they're like Jason Momoa, or they're Sandra Bullock, or there's some other celebrity. And so, and they get their stuff confused sometimes. And then they'll also call you like with AI voices, and you can tell it's not Brad Pitt. But I would love, for Brad Pitt to call me, or DiCaprio, or Johnny Depp. Even one of them, wanted me to audition, and it was probably another fake one. I do have agents. If y'all need to reach me, my agents, you believe me, if it's a celebrity like that, my agent might get really upset. And I have to look at it this way. My agents, I have one in San Antonio, and then I had agents before out in LA, and I even had one in Atlanta, but I never moved there, so I couldn't keep that agent. But those agents work tirelessly to get us auditions, and normally they make just 10% of what we would make if we booked it. And 99% of the time, they set up the audition, we do all our self-taping, they make us do it over, whatever we're trying to do. And it's usually crickets. If you're not chosen, or you're not given a call back, it's usually crickets. Well, that's a lot of work for free. And if we do book it, we're not going to make what the big time actors are going to make either. So 10% of whatever I'm going to make is going to barely buy their lunch, okay? Or dinner, or whatever. Maybe a few items. Maybe, I don't know. So it depends. So the thing of it is I'm so thankful to that. But I have even contacted one agent in LA that he would deal with them. And I've even tried to contact some of these stars' agents. In fact, I tried to contact some of the Brad Pitt's agents and his manager, but some of those are online. At least the manager, they're posing as their managers too, which is fake. But they will take up a lot of your time and get your hopes up. But a lot of it deep down inside, that it's not that person. But it's like flattery, and it's like you're like hooked on the idea. And yesterday, because, I didn't have the gas money to travel where I needed to go for a Christmas party that sometimes I go to up in Dallas, I just stayed here in Waco, and so I was busy doing stuff and resting and calling friends and, real people that I know, and that type of thing. But I found myself replying to one of them, and, you get into this whole rabbit hole thing with them, and at the end of the day, because I even think, he's, I don't know, and that's really none of our business. I mean, when like, for example, when Clooney finally got married, he was public about it, but Brad Pitt's been married a couple times, so I'm sure if he's married again, which he could be, we don't know, he probably wouldn't want to tell everybody, because, so the bottom line is it's waste your time, and I'm starting a little support group. I think I mentioned that so before another time, or maybe did I just, okay, so with a friend that she might help us, Kim, because she heard from a lot of them, and a lot of women have too. I've talked to a number of women online, that, especially the Pitt ones, there seem to be the most of them, and then we could even have, like, one of my friends, Angela, could get on the meeting, if we have a Zoom meeting about it, and tell everybody, get back to work, get back to fixing your life. She's like, okay, whatever, in a nice way, of course. So, that said, let's just let it go, and please be strong and don't reply. And guys, just stop it. And if the real one wants to get a hold of me, or any of those people, whether it's, I've had the John Cusack ones, I have had the DiCaprio, and even Clint Eastwood, who I've auditioned for some of his stuff. small roles, of course. Um, some other top name, Costner, various ones, but they all turned out to be, probably fake. There are a few actors that are real on social media, but they're few and far between. Okay? So just be careful out there, guys, and just don't get hooked, because I never had the money for them, but it really did something to me, as far as emotional and also time wasting. It's a terrible waste of time. And you know what? A lot of those dating sites are a waste of time too, on social media or the independent dating sites, because they're not really that guy. He says I have a, the giveaway is when he says I own a ranch. I'm from Australia, but I own a ranch in the middle of Florida, the Florida beach. And then you Google where he's coming from, and you'll find out he's in the middle of the African jungle. That right there may tell you that that's not that person. And that's not just one of the Brad Pitt imposters. We're talking about, a guy on some of the top websites for matchmaking. So, and there are a lot of things like that on for getting jobs too, or people that are potential customers or anything. The best thing to do is meet people in person. I know that's so old-fashioned, but at the end of the day, talk to people on the phone. If you want to do a Zoom with them, if you feel comfortable doing that, or meeting them in person, be careful, but meet them maybe at Starbucks or some place like that. I used to meet customers that way, if especially as an older single woman, going to their home or office wasn't always safe, especially if it was at night. I had some issues back when I was a full-time insurance agent. Just like realtors have to be careful. So that's it, guys. So, but yeah, if you want to know more about the support group and get together as a group and have a group meeting about that, because turning to that is a way of escaping. It's a distraction and a way to escape from your life and not work on your life. Okay. So anyway, that's it. Over and out, guys.